Well, good morning and welcome to my assembly, and also Happy New Year. And I hope 2021 is an increasingly optimistic year for you. Life's a funny old game, isn't it? And not particularly easy. At the moment, I've been feeling quite philosophical, as I think I increasingly do as I get older. Back when I was a boy, when I was your age, I used to sort of almost be outraged when life was difficult. I don't think it was till my late teens that I sort of came to accept that actually life just is difficult. I would imagine for you, it's pretty easy to accept that looking at the last 10 months or so. There's another thing, when I look back, early mid-teens, I was absolutely adamant that I wanted to sort of grow up to be a strong, independent person. I still do value independence in many ways. I mean, you probably know, as a school, we really hope to build you up, to free you, to be yourself, to have the confidence in who you are, to be comfortable in your own skin, and to dream big dreams and head off and make those dreams a reality. So I value independence. When I was younger, I hated to think of myself as dependent on others or interdependent, so in a relationship with sort of someone else where you depended on each other. I sort of wanted to be almost a strong, fortified island ready to take on the world. I really value interdependence now. I accept it, I'm comfortable with it, and I've come to realise a lot of my strength comes from that. So that's what this assembly's about, actually. It's something I don't think it's discussed as much as independence and strength. This assembly's about dependence and interdependence. So where did all this come from? I planned this assembly driving home on Friday evening. I got in my, I've got a van, got in my van, and sort of just was getting ready to get going. I felt really weary, and that was to be expected. I mean, last week was just crazy with all the government changes. So I was pretty weary, but that didn't surprise me. I sort of had a sort of an underlying sadness. I've sort of heard of quite a lot of sad situations last week, worrying things. Again, that was to be expected. But mixed in with that, I also just felt like a joy mixed in with it all. And I was surprised by that joy. And I keep being surprised by that joy because life is so tough at the moment. Where's it coming from? And that's what I thought about, and that's what this assembly's about. It didn't take me long really to hit on a key source. So I got in my car, started it up, drove round, I went past good old Ron's house, the caretaker, got out the car, and I just smiled thinking about Ron. And the thing I thought of was our Christmas lights. Ron put loads of them up. Something you might not know about that. He came in one Saturday morning, his weekend, and he spent the whole morning putting up loads of those fantastic lights that we had. And then he, at lunchtime, had a look round. He took the lot down and put them up again because he wasn't happy with how they turned out the first time. They were pretty good the first time. I love that about Ron, but I tell that story because our school is rammed with staff that go the extra mile, that want the very best for you. Weren't those lights just absolutely fantastic? Just similar to that, I was at a meeting just last week, and Emma McLeod put on the Christmas lights again in her office with just that cheeky grin. Doesn't Mrs. McLeod just sum up the Challoner's high spirit and that endless sort of pushing forward, no matter how things are and maybe they're tough, and being positive? I wonder what relationships you have, and I wonder what you can do for other people in these coming tough weeks. I was thinking about the people around me and why this joy keeps bubbling up despite everything. And I thought of a few people. I thought of Mrs. Meredith. I work really close with Mrs. Meredith as our deputy head teacher. Do you know, she is so good for me. I depend on her good humour, on her balanced, philosophical sort of approach to life. She finds a silver lining in every cloud. I can be having a bit of a nightmare, I sit down, 20 minutes later, you're ready to take on the world again. She's a very real person, it's not fake. I wonder if you're like that. I wonder if you're someone who's just got a Mrs. Meredith, wicked sort of, witty line in banter. If you are, how can you use that to, put some real fun and energy into your lessons in the coming weeks and into your relationships and your friendships? I depend on Mrs. Meredith for many things, including that. She's fantastic. I was really grumpy
one day before Christmas. I'm a fairly upbeat person, really, definitely glass half full. I was mighty grumpy though. My PA that I work with closely is called Mrs. Cook. She's a listener. I wonder how many of you are listeners. And so I was grumpy and I couldn't lift myself out of it, and I just started ranting, and it was all coming out just before Christmas. Mrs. Cook just is that brilliant listener and doesn't tell you how to run your life particularly, but listens and just helps you to get it out. And again, just find that balance again. I wonder how many of you are listeners. Can you listen to each other and your friends and just really bless them over these coming days and weeks? I'd encourage you if that's your gift. I work really close with Mrs. Russell, who's also deputy head teacher. Do you know, and I never will have to go off to war because I'm old and my knees are shot to pieces and I've got asthma, etc. But if I ever had to go off to war, I'd want to go off to war with Mrs. Russell. She has the heart of a lion. And again, I depend on that when times are tough. She, you know, when the tough times come, Mrs. Russell really gets going. And again, that's fantastic for me. I wonder if you're one of those people, like a real warrior, someone who's strong. I wonder how you could move alongside other people and just sort of be that strength when they need it. And so perhaps you can see, you know, life is tough at the moment. I just feel at every turn I look to people and they're inspiring me. They're cheering me up if they're wrong. They're, I don't know, just giving me that, come on, we can do this, Challoner High spirit if they're Mrs. McLeod. They're listening if they're Mrs. Cook. They're bantering if they're Mrs. Meredith. Mrs. Russell's that sort of lion heart, and so it goes on. All of you will have things to give to each other. I would encourage you to think what they are and to open yourself up to give people that strength and that joy and that enjoyment over these coming days and weeks. And so that's what I was thinking about as I was driving home. I also remembered, you know, last week I was just on this absolute mission, and I've rarely worked as hard. One day I came in and I thought, because normally I'm a morning person, I'm fired up. But I came in and I was like, oh my goodness, I've got a mountain to climb. I've been working flat out. I worked hard the week before as well. I've been working flat out. And I thought, I just don't feel up for this today, and you must feel that some days. Open up my emails. The first email that was there was from Mr. Lovewell, and it was the most encouraging email, and it just did me the power of good. First thing I looked at, I'm like, yeah, come on. Then I remembered I hadn't signed in, so I went downstairs to sort of sign into the staff list. Mr. Barrison was signing in, and he gave me some words of encouragement, and they were the perfect words he chose as well, you know, just to focus on what you can control and what you can influence, and just, you know, let the other things wash over you. Good old Mr. Barrison. I wonder if you're an encourager. You know, you might be that listener role, you might be that witty banterer, or are you an encourager? My goodness, don't we all need encouragement? And that gave me the strength. I came up after Mr. Lovewell's email, Mr. Barrison's pep talk, I came back up ready to take on the world again. By the time I'd finished thinking about, and I've just mentioned a few people, you know, our senior leadership team, every one of them each day steps up, and we depend on each other. We're all different people, we strengthen each other, and across the school I just get such motivation from, you know, the wonderful staff in all the roles that are doing a fabulous job. I also thought of the head girl team, and I think by now I was sort of heading past Wendover and just on that bypass. They're a massive source of inspiration, and as a wider student population, you all are. Weren't the head girl team amazing leading up to Christmas with Challimus? Didn't they change and uplift everyone's spirits? You saw that. I guarantee you've got no idea quite how much time that took them. Christmas entertainment, so many of Year 13 pitching in. They did it because they were having a great time and for the love of the school and to give you something brilliant. I wonder, and it might be in a big way or a smaller way, what you could do events-wise, activities-wise, perhaps something special in your form. You know, because, well, I'm thinking right now of Rishika, our head girl. If you want a role model, look to her. My goodness, she's so driven, but so balanced, so kind. She'll be a fabulous doctor later in life, and she just gives tens of hours to our school because she loves our school. So yeah, I wonder what you could give in terms of events and activities and so on. Well, so be brave enough to look around you. We've got an amazing school community here. We can be both independent but also brave enough, I think, to depend on others to give us our strength and that joy. I wish you the very, very best at this tough time. Thank you.